So, we've done it. We have finally made it to what will most likely be the final segments of the trilogy. We've gone 3 years into the life of one Phoenix Wright. And now, we're going to end this once and for all.
Good morning! Oh, are you by yourself?
Morning, Pearls.
Mr. Nick, please tell me, what's going to happen to Mystic Maya?
I'm sorry. We don't know yet. The investigation is still going on, so I wasn't allowed to go into the inner temple.
Oh, I see. So, is Sister Iris still trying to remove those trick locks in the training hall?
No. She's the defendant in this case, so she can't be at the inner temple. She's required to be here in court.
Then, how come she's not here in the defendant's lobby?
I have to admit, it's kind of strange. If you're looking for Iris, she's in the prosecutor's lobby. Oh, it's Edgeworth. Edgeworth. Where's Iris doing over there? She's going over today's testimony with the prosecutor as we speak. Today's testimony? You heard me. Iris is going to be testifying as a witness for the prosecution. Wait, what? The prosecutor is squeezing her for a confession. Or so I've heard. Franziska von Karma, what are you up to? I know what you're thinking, but Franziska isn't going to be the prosecutor today. What? And who is? Who else would it be but Godo? Godo. Franziska is engaged in some important work in the Sacred Cavern.
The Sacred Cavern? You don't mean that she's...
Exactly. She's been out there all night trying to remove those trick locks. With the head nun's assistance, naturally. We estimated the last of the locks should be taken care of in about 3 hours. I hope everything continues to go smoothly and we receive some good news soon. Yeah. Thanks, Edgeworth. Prosecutor Godo intends to nail this case shut today. Be prepared to fight like there's no tomorrow. You don't have to tell me that. Touché. I can already see it in your eyes. You're not the same fever-ridden, frantic maniac you were yesterday. It's strange. On the way here, I decided that today would be the end of all this. Almost immediately after I made that decision, I felt myself getting stronger. Interesting. Maybe you've passed your cold onto someone else, literally. And with that, I leave the rest in your capable hands. Partner. Thanks. Did we pass the cold to Gumshoe? Please tell me we didn't. I still don't have the answers for most of the riddles plaguing the case. The circumstances around the murder of Miss Elise Donham. No, I mean Miss Misty Fay. The impossible flight Larry claims to have seen. And what that woman is really after. I will solve them all and bring this whole tragedy to an end. Rabble, 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 rabble. Court is now in session for the trial of Iris of Hazakura Temple. Oh, hey, we got the normal judge back. Aw, don't tell me we saw the last of the Canadian judge. I like that guy. Your Honor? What are you... Who, me? Well, my little brother came to visit me in my chambers earlier this morning. All of a sudden, in the blink of an eye, he developed a scorching fever and fainted. Aww, Phoenix! You passed a cold onto the Canadian judge? Why? Therefore, I'll be standing in for him. I see, Your Honor. So they're brothers. That explains a lot. My poor brother. He looked a bit pale, not to mention sad that he couldn't be here. Glug, 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 glug. It is impossible to predict what the future has in store for any of us. This is precisely why people feel the need to judge the past, and we of the court have been charged with the solemn duty of passing such judgment. Well said, Mr. Godo. I understood exactly what you said. At least up until the end, anyway. Now then, Mr. Godo, please proceed with your opening statement. Humans are fragile, fickle beings. Our hearts change with the shifting of the tides. There is only one thing that remains a constant in this crazy world. the bitter darkness that lies at the bottom of this mug. So then you mean... forget it. What do you mean? During yesterday's trial, the accused refused to admit her role in the crime. But today she has had a change of heart. Sister Iris of Hazakura Temple has a confession to make. Confession? The defendant? Iris, why didn't she discuss this with me first? Very well. This court will now hear the defendant's confession. Oh, fuck. Upon meeting a beautiful lady, always ask for her name and profession. That's one of my rules.
My name is Iris. I am but a simple nun undergoing training at Hazakura Temple.
Witness, is there something that you want to confess to?
Yes, but first I want to apologize to Mr. Wright. I can't continue lying to everyone anymore.
It's alright. What is it?
Mr. Wright, I have to admit that I did play a part in this terrible incident.
Are you actually confessing? Are you saying that you were the one who murdered Miss Elise Stoneham?
No, I'm not, Your Honor. But I dealt with the cover-up after the murder took place. After her spirit left, I took the lifeless shell of Mystic Elise and carried it to the Hazakura Temple courtyard where I desecrated it.
What? Order in the court! Order! Witness! Are you saying you were an accomplice to the murder?
Yes, that's correct.
What? 3 minutes in court and I'm already covered in the cold sweat. Ha! Everyone on the planet is an accomplice to something. It just happens to be that in this case it's the murder. As I drink another cup of coffee. Isn't that right, Mr. Trite? Godo. So this is the confession they were conferring about. It pains me to say this, but it looks like Iris's testimony was all a lie. Crumpled up and shoved into a pocket. Now then, little lady, if you don't mind, I've got a question for you. Whose crime are you trying to cover up by your actions? Iris was covering for someone? Now I'm definitely up to creep without a paddle or a life jacket.
I've been at Hazakura Temple ever since I was a little girl. Hazakura Temple is run by one of the branch families of the Korean tradition. One of our missions is to protect the main family.
I'm sorry, but main family?
Yes, and that's why I would dirty myself if need be to protect her. The daughter of the master of the Korean channeling technique. Mystic Maya Fey.
Huh? Wake up and smell the coffee, Trey. She's naming Maya? Order in the court. So not only did you witness the murder, you know the name of the murderer.
I'm terribly sorry, but it's true. I saw her commit the crime with my very own eyes, and then I cleaned up the area to try and protect her.
That's ridiculous. Maya can never do such a... The defense will refrain from commenting until the appropriate time. Now, witness, let's hear your testimony. What exactly happened on the night of the crime?
Yes, Your Honor.
I thought I was prepared for the unexpected, but I never imagined the case would wind up going in this direction. I
went to the inner temple that night and I saw it all happen in the garden. I saw Mystic Elise strike Mystic Maya with her staff. While Mystic Maya was still stumbling, Mystic Elise moved in to deliver a fatal strike. Mystic Maya tried desperately to defend herself and stole the weapon. It was only in self-defense. You can't blame her for it.
So it was in self-defense.
Yes, Mystic Elise was the one who attacked first. That's why I tried my best to protect Mystic Maya.
You moved the victim's body to the temple so that Maya wouldn't be suspected. Isn't that right? Not bad. You've got the instincts of a true criminal. Something is not quite right. I'm sure it was established yesterday that Iris never went to the inner temple that night. That's true. And that the person who did go was that woman. Iris even admitted it. Now then, Mr. Wright, please proceed with your cross-examination. Cross-examine what, Your Honor? Are you sure about that? She moved in to deliver a fatal strike?
Yes, I'm sure of it. She threw down her staff and reached into her robe for a weapon.
Wait a minute. What was this weapon?
It was some kind of dagger.
A dagger, huh? And Elise Donham tried to stab her with this weapon? To kill Miss Faye?
Yes, exactly.
Huh. You look like I did after I mistakenly took a swig of Worcestershire sauce. Wait, Godo, are you serious? Do you have a problem with the testimony we're hearing from your client, lawyer boy? Do I have a problem with Iris' testimony? There is one thing. Your Honor, I have a small problem with the witness's testimony. You do? But this witness is your own client. Yes, well, nevertheless. That's fine. Witness, let's add your last statement to the testimony.
Yes, sir.
Hey, just a moment. It's my job to say that. Listen, Gramps. I won't say it again. Final judgment will be rendered by me. Okay, now, let's continue.
She threw her staff away and pulled a dagger from inside her robe.
Wait a minute. No, she didn't. Because the dagger was hidden inside her staff! Objection! Sister Iris, there's something strange about your version of events.
Huh?
Miss Dunham throwing her staff away makes no sense at all to me.
But all you can do with a staff is hit someone.
Naturally, you wouldn't notice, Sister Iris, but the victim's staff had a special feature about it. As you can see, it's a sword.
Ah!
If Elise Dunham really had wanted to kill Maya Fey, she wouldn't have needed to use the separate dagger. Not when she already has a beautiful blade in her hands already. Well, Sister Iris, what do you have to say? That was an impressive bit of investigating, Tripe. I never would have thought there was a sword hidden in that staff. But even so, how should I put this? A long sword is unwieldy and thus quite ineffective in close quarters combat. Maybe that's why she chose a dagger over her blade. Well... Anyway, the type of weapon she chose to use isn't what's important. The important thing is that she tried to kill Maya Fey. As long as there's nothing strange about that, there's no problem with her testimony. But there is something strange about this whole testimony. Well, Mr. Wright, the prosecution has a point. Very well, Your Honor. The defense will now present evidence to back its argument.
Mr. Wright?
I have here another piece of evidence that shows this testimony can't be trusted. Because Miss Elise Dunham would never attempt to take the life of Miss Maya Fey. Real name, Misty Fey, Maya's mother. Elise Dunham would never have attacked Maya Fey.
How can you be so sure?
Because the victim's real name was not Elise Dunham. Her real name was Misty Fey. Fey?
No, not Misty Fey.
Who is this Misty Fey? Is she related to... Misty Fey is the master of Korean channeling technique. She is also the mother of Maya Fey. Are you serious?
Is it really true, Mr. Wright? Was Elise Dunham actually the Great Mystic Misty?
There's no doubt about it. It looks like Iris had no idea.
I can hardly believe it.
The idea that she would try to kill her only daughter, one she hadn't seen in 17 years. Perhaps the prosecution can offer some explanation for why she'd do such a thing. Order! Order in the court! Upon first hearing the witness's testimony, it seemed natural enough. However, in light of some facts that have just been presented, one, that the victim supposedly threw away her sword during the fight, and two, that the two people battling to death were mother and daughter. Despite the facts being believable, were taken on their own. We're taken together, the entire story seems difficult to believe. Listen, there's nothing in the world that's impossible, except for one little thing. Yes? What is that one little impossible thing? You still don't get it. You think maybe my beans are under-roasted, but you have no idea, Gramps. Could you get to your point? I heard his witness's confession this morning, just as I had taken the first sip of my 8th cup of morning coffee. You're going to ruin your health, my friend. Anyway, after hearing his woman's confession, I, the detective who loves to investigate, sent to the scene of the crime. And he discovered this little beauty. Is that the dagger the witness testified to seeing? Obviously, Your Honor. But do you not notice something else? Now that you mention it, if you look closely, there appears to be blood on it. Where'd you find that? I didn't see that when I investigated a crime scene. Did you investigate the pine tree, the crime scene? Huh? The pine tree? The dagger was stuck in the backside of the pine tree. When the last blow was struck, ending the violent battle between the two women, this little baby was thrown in the direction of the back of the pine tree. Which means the blood on the dagger belongs to the victim, correct? Were you even listening, old man? I first heard his confession this morning, just as I had taken the first sip of my 13th cup of coffee. Didn't you just say it was your 8th a few minutes ago? I didn't have enough time to get the blood analyzed in such short notice. In any case, the court will accept the dagger as evidence. Furthermore, I ordered that a blood test be performed on it immediately. This is my sweetheart. Make sure you treat her right. Bailiff, get this piece of evidence to the crime lab for testing immediately. Yes, sir. Now then, the testimony we just heard had numerous unbelievable aspects to it. However, after having found the very dagger the witness spoke of, I believe we can consider her testimony to be credible. Cute girls never lie. Ever. Bullshit. In any case, witness, if you could please testify again to the court.
About what, Your Honor?
About the incident you saw, the battle between the two women.
Yes, Your Honor. Mystic Maya stumbled briefly after being hit over the head with the staff, but then she dodged Mystic Elise's next attack and stole her weapon. Suddenly, Mystic Elise was the one on the defensive, with her back to the stone lantern. That's when Mystic Maya stabbed Mystic Elise. Mystic Elise managed to fling the knife away, but then she collapsed.
That was a very heartbreaking story.
Oh no, there were any bad feelings between them, but it had to be 17 years since Mystic Misty's disappearance. Perhaps they simply didn't recognize each other anymore.
You're right. Proceed with your cross-examination. Wait, what did the autopsy report say? I don't believe I've ever read it. A stab to the back. Wait. Oh, I get it. You said her back was to the stone lantern, but in the meantime, objection! Something about you just isn't right today, Iris.
Huh?
Until now, I didn't think you were the type to make such a careless mistake. However, the testimony you just gave contains quite a few contradictions.
What do you mean? What do you mean? What's so wrong about my testimony?
According to you, Maya Faith stabbed the victim while she had her back to the stone lantern, correct?
Yes, that's right.
But in that case, the victim would have been stabbed in the stomach, right? Yes, I think so. But, according to the autopsy report, the cause of death was due to blood loss from a stab wound in her back. This proves that the victim was stabbed from behind, not from the front. Sister Iris, it appears another seed of doubt has sprouted from your testimony. What is the meaning of this, Mr. Wright? It's simple. People are like books. We all got a front and a back. You catch my drift? Is that all you have to say? I can also say that darkness loves to play with the human mind. Can you please knock it off of your cheesy proverbs and illogical metaphors already? The point is, too much of the testimony just doesn't make sense. Throwing away useful staff, the people fighting being mother and daughter, and now she's falsely claims that the victim was stabbed in the stomach. There certainly are some inconsistencies. Well, Iris, how about it?
Well, it's just...
If you ask me, you're just being too naive about the whole thing. What do you mean? There are 253 distinct types of bitterness in coffee, but to pick out each one requires total concentration and the use of all senses. Are you really concentrating on what this witness actually said? Prosecutor Goto, explain yourself! The witness was quite unambiguous about her own ambiguities when she said that the garden was dark and she couldn't see clearly. A human needs one thing to see clearly, and that is light. Light. By the way, did you know, as it is a rule that on nights where an acolyte is at the inner temple training, the stone lantern in the garden must be kept lit? I did wonder what that stone lantern was there for. Well, able to see the crime more clearly? Normally, yes, Your Honor, but according to the head nun, Sister Bikini, on the night of the crime, it was impossible to light that stone lantern. Impossible? It hadn't been used in a long time and the wick was no good. In other words, it had been nearly pitch black on the garden that night. There could have been a faint light coming from the training hall, but that's all. It was enlightening. Yes, that's illuminating fact to chase all the contradictions away. If the staff was dropped, it would be difficult to see. It also explains why they didn't recognize each other. We can't see the demons that lurk in the night. That's why humans are weak. Isn't that right, Troy? No! Order! 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 Here, Your Honor. Let me present the stone lantern into evidence. Well, maybe it'll rekindle the flame of truth in your mind. Why is the judge just sitting there with that look on his face? What's wrong, Your Honor? Was the flame too hot? This lantern. There's something written on it. Why? It's written in blood! Oh boy. So the judge didn't know about that yet. Written in blood? It says Maya upside down! What the?
Oh yes, that's right. After being cornered and stabbed by Mystic Maya, Mr. Elise didn't fall down right away. She must have been riding down a stone lantern behind her, with the blood that was draining out of her body.
It certainly looks that way. Hang on just a minute. What are you all talking about? What do you mean, what are we all talking about? We're talking about the message written in blood. Nonsense. This lantern, it's as clean as a whistle. Could it be? He can't see the bloody writing at all? Oh, that's right. He's got a red filter on his goggles, so he can't see red. Because of his goggles, he's pretty much colorblind in red. Now that I think of it, he did say something to me yesterday. My eyesight's pretty messed up. Even with these huge goggles on my head, I still can't see everything. So that's what he meant by that. In any case, this is obviously an important clue. We now know that the crime scene was dark, and that the victim scrawled his message on the stone lantern. Well, Mr. Goto, anything further? Mr. Goto? Okay then. Let's move on. Goto's literally shaking, and somehow I don't think it's from caffeine overdose. I believe it has now been established that Miss Donham was killed by Maya Fey. That's just wrong. Now it's time to turn our attention to you.
Yes, sir.
After the victim died, you did something, didn't you? Let's hear it. We're all ears.
Mystic Elise died, I called out to Mystic Maya. I thought it was my duty to protect the future master of the Korean tradition, so I removed the body from the inner temple by myself. I dragged it behind me all the way across Dusky Bridge. I used the snowmobile to carry it back to Asakura Temple and... I used the Shinji Shido to alter the way the wound looked.
So you moved the body?
Yes, I was raised in Asakura Temple. I owe a great deal of thanks to the Fae clan. But even so, I never imagined that Elise Doman was actually Misty Fae. I've committed a terrible sin.
A terrible trick of fate. I believe you're looking for a twist of fate, Your Honor.
I intended to return to the inner temple to take care of the body, but...
You were spotted by the head nun, correct?
Yes, and that's why I couldn't go back.
Your story makes sense, I suppose. Mr. Wright, go ahead with your cross-examination. Yes, Your Honor. You cut yourself off there. The snowmobile? I knew it would turn up sooner or later.
Yes, I have a key. I used the snowmobile to travel from Asakura Temple to Dusky Bridge.
This is the part that was in question the other day. Should I ask for more details? About the tracks. If you really did move her body by snowmobile, then there should be tracks left in the snow, right? Well, yes, naturally you would expect tracks. The picture was presented as yesterday's trial. Are these the tracks from that ride?
Yes, I think they are.
But I can only see one set of tracks here.
I don't see what's so strange about that. Snow is still falling when I left Asakura Temple.
I see. Snow was still falling, huh?
And then when the murder took place, it had already stopped. That's why there's such fresh-looking tracks.
How about it, Mr. Wright? What do you think about this testimony? It's very important. When the murder took place, the snow had already stopped. That doesn't make sense when you stack it up against the other evidence. Your Honor, I'd like the statement Iris just made added to the testimony. But does that have something to do with the case? All will be made clear if you allow her statement to be added to the record. Heh. This should be fun. You. Let's get the snow business cleared up, shall we?
Yes, sir. By the time the murder took place, the snow had already stopped.
Wait a minute. Are we sure about that? No! Because the snow kept going to approximately 1050. Right? Yes! I was right! No! Oh, I guess maybe not. Huh. Oh, I guess. You claimed that the snow had already stopped when the murder occurred. But I'm sorry, Iris. That just isn't possible.
What?
This is the weather data from the night of the murder. According to this, the snow didn't stop until 10:50 p.m. But you couldn't have crossed Dusky Bridge at that time.
Why do you say that?
Because 5 minutes before the snow stopped, Dusky Bridge was struck by lightning and had caught on fire.
What did you say? The bridge? It was on fire?
You don't mean to say you didn't know about it? It was because of that lightning strike that the bridge burned down.
What? But it can't be.
It looks like you still haven't figured it out. No matter how hard you try to deceive or conceal the truth, you can't pull the wool over the eyes of a real defense attorney.
Ah!
Order! The bridge is already on fire when the incident took place. That's right, the inner temple was already totally cut off from the outside world. There's no way you could have crossed that bridge, body or no body. Witness, even my patience have its limits. Any further lying and I will find you in contempt of court. Do you have anything to say for yourself? The only person here that's truly contemptible is you. old man. Me? How dare you? Whether this witness lied or not doesn't mean squat right now. Squat? The important thing now is to find out the truth. Isn't that right? Yes, of course, but whether it was snowing or not snowing, or whether the bridge was burning or not, there are two facts that can't be disputed. First, the body of Elise Dunn was discovered in the Hazatira Temple courtyard, and second, the head nun, Sister Bikini, witnessed Iris desecrating Elise Dunham's body. He makes a good point, on both accounts.
That's right. I'm not lying.
What are you claiming this time?
I wasn't myself at all that night, so my memory is still somewhat hazy.
You have stood at that witness stand and testified this entire time. Are you telling us now your memory of that night is hazy? It's only human to err. If you're so perfect, Troy, maybe you can explain this to the court. What is it? When the murder happened, the bridge had already burnt down. But somehow the body traveled across the bridge and found its temple courtyard. Perhaps you have some kind of perfect explanation for this little magic trick. Ugh. Well, not exactly, no. I'm gonna save just to be sure. I know this must be some other way she got across the burnout bridge, but unless I can somehow demonstrate it, we'll never know the truth. Looks like the defense is not prepared to offer a suitable explanation. You see what I mean? In other words, you're in no position to suggest that lady's testimony isn't the truth. Ah! Alright then, witness, let's hear your testimony once more.
About what, Your Honor?
You've admitted that you moved the victim's body. Nevertheless, your prior testimony contained a rather large inconsistency. Please add an explanation for that to your testimony.
Yes, Your Honor.
Will this be her final testimony?
Other than walking over to the bridge, there's no way to move the body. So I must have just gotten confused, I guess. Was the snow still falling or had it stopped? Does it really matter that much? Or are you just saying there's a way to cross the burning bridge?
That felt personal. So it was a misunderstanding, I see. This is a photo of Dusky Bridge after it burned down in the lightning blast. It was taken on the morning after the incident. Oh, shit. It certainly was burned to a crisp, and one of the suspension wires even snapped. It's amazing that the whole bridge didn't fall. Clearly, it would be impossible to carry a corpse around a bridge in that condition. So there's something to describe as testimony. It's going to be deemed as the truth, and Maya will be accused of murder. I can't let that happen, can I? Try it. I'm only going to say it one more time. It's only human to err, and only humans can spot the errors of our ways. The more sense he makes, the less sense he makes. Alright, Mr. Wright, please begin your final cross-examination. Horrible sketch of what he saw the night of the crime. How's this add up? A dead body flying over a burning bridge. I wouldn't exactly rule out the possibility. What? You're saying it's possible? Don't make me laugh. The only thing that's possible about your claim is that it's being pulled out of thin air. I don't know about that. In any case, we have a witness who did see it happen. Preposterous! Who is it? Who's the witness? I can't chicken out here. I gotta keep on the attack and go, go, go. Mr. Elise Stonham's brilliant and highly gifted apprentice, Laurie Stoneham. Brilliant? Highly gifted? Apprentice? Remember what he said in his testimony. That night he was at the Mountain Shack, Heavenly Hall. And that's when he witnessed the event. I think you've all seen the sketch before. It's an exact drawing of what he witnessed that night. Are you serious? Today's not April Fool's Day, is it? Mr. Wright, are you seriously claiming the victim flew through the air? We've dealt with this once before, remember the circus? And you're using this pathetic scribble to support your argument? Uh-oh. The judge looks like he's about to blow a gasket. Well, Trite, there's nowhere to hide for you now. Other than looking like it was drawn by a 6-year-old, does this sketch prove anything? Yes, I'm pretty sure it does, and I'm going to prove it. Listen, I know your tricks. You're trying to turn this whole thing upside down. If you're so eager to turn this case upside down, why not start with this sketch? Upside down? Why did Goto say that? Alright then, let's hear the defense's theory. What exactly is the sketch trying to show? I don't think old Whiskerface is going to forgive any more mistakes. Alright, Phoenix, think carefully and look it over. Sketch drawn by Loris Dunham is a complete contradiction. Or is it exactly what happened? Something is obviously funny about the sketch. I'm no art critic, but even I can see that. No, that's not what I meant, Your Honor. Loris Dunham stated it over and over, that the sketch was exactly as he saw it. However, if we're to believe his testimony, then the sketch contradicts reality as we know it.
It contradicts reality?
This is getting interesting. Looks like you're back to that finger pointing thing again. Okay, Trite, if you mess this up, I'm only going to take 1 bar off of you, so no pressure, but what's wrong? It's the wire connected to the bridge. The wire? Is that the thing that contradicts reality? It is indeed. Then show us the reality it supposedly conflicts with. Show us something that will point out a sketch contradicts reality. It snapped one of the suspension wires. That's a photo of Dusky Bridge, correct? Yes. Now compare the sketch and the photo for a minute. In the sketch, the wires appear to be above the guard wires. But on the actual Dusky Bridge, jumping Jehoshaphat, the wires are below the guard wires. Brat! Order! The sketch is somewhat different than what's depicted in the photo. However, isn't it likely the artist just saw it wrong? Or perhaps just drew it wrong? Either way, it sounds like you're just wrong. Definitely a possibility, but then that begs the question, why did he make a mistake? Is that the reason? Are you saying you know the answer to that? Listen, think back, alright? Remember what Larice was doing when he witnessed the event. He was at Heavenly Hall waiting for a lover that was never going to come. He waited and waited, and finally he laid down. But then, lightning shot from the sky and set the blades aflame. Now ponder what sort of position Larice must have been at the time. He was lying on his back, which is why he remembered the scene the way he did. He was lying on his back? I can't see how it relates. It does, Your Honor. That's the reason why the wires in the sketch go up instead of down. No way. Larice Dunham witnessed the event while he was lying on his back face up. In other words, the scene that he saw was actually upside down. So then, the sketch should actually... I think you finally get it, Your Honor. The correct way to view Larice Dunham's sketch is like this. This is how it should actually look. The victim's body wasn't flying above the bridge, it was actually swinging below. That's right, just like a pendulum. Ridiculous! Or, of all the things to say, a pendulum? The bridge was burning to a crisp, there was no way to get across it. But if the body had been found in the inner temple, it would have caused problems. This is where the criminal decided to take a gamble. He used the burning bridge to get the body across the other side. And a pendulum was the only way to get it done. Let's think about this for a minute, shall we? Dusky Bridge is about 20 yards long, which means it's about that far from the inner temple to the opposite cliff. Yes, that sounds right. In order to cover the distance with a pendulum, you need a rope at least 10 yards long. To get a rope that long, you have to plan ahead. The lightning strike that night could only have been an accident, so it doesn't make sense that the culprit would have prepared the rope beforehand. So then, they didn't have to get the rope ready. The rope was already right in front of them. What? I'm saying it was just a matter of using what was already there. In that case, Mr. Wright, please give us an explanation to support your theory. What makes you think that the criminal had the rope on hand to create a pendulum? The bridge, remember? And the meaning of this is, if you want to know where the rope came from, it's hanging right there in front of your glorious beard. Ah! This is one of the wires from the bridge. When the lightning struck the bridge and set it on fire, body. Because there is simply no other way to move the body. Glug 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 glug. Chug-a-lug. Mr. Goto? Glug 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 glug. It seems that Mr. Goto is more focused on his coffee than answering my question. It seems that the odds of a rope being readily available were very high, so I suppose it's not an impossibility after all. Possible or impossible, that's not the question we need to ask. There's only one question. Did that really happen? Troy, I wonder if you can prove what happened to us. Do you have any actual evidence to suggest the body was swung over like a pendulum? Well, a pendulum, you need a rope and you need a ball. This is the only ball we have. Crystal Sphere, take that! Before I present my evidence, let me review what we know so far. According to this photo, one of the wires snapped. Looking at the map, you can see it's the one that was in front of the inner temple. So then, that's where the spot So then, that was the spot where the criminal, yes, precisely. Now, let us consider the body's movement by looking at the overhead map again. If the body was pushed from the point here, it would drop onto the opposite bank at approximately this point. Did you say drop? Well, they must have failed to catch the body on the other bank. What? Why did you think something like that happened? Because I have evidence that suggests her body dropped some distance. What kind of evidence? Take a look at this autopsy report. It says here that her body fell about 10 feet after her death. 10 feet, huh? That's most likely the height difference between the two sides. The body had overswung due to forward momentum, but then came loose and fell about 10 feet. And then, as a result of the landing impact, this crystal sphere was knocked loose. Yes, this blood-stained amethyst crystal is the one that came off of Miss Elise Donham's staff. And even more important is the place where this crystal sphere was found. Indeed. I believe it's already marked on the overhead map. The crystal sphere was found... Precisely, Your Honor. In the very spot where the pendulum would arrive if given the right amount of speed. This explains your theory quite well, Mr. Wright. You've provided us with the way a body could have been moved that night. An impressive deduction, Mr. Wright. Most impressive. Mr. Wright! I thought this cold coffee might help cool you down. What is the meaning of this, Mr. Goto? There's a dark and bitter guess that you made, Trite, but you forgot about one thing. Oh? And what would that be? The aroma. Huh? A coffee's most reliable accomplice is a deep and profound aroma. The rest of the court doesn't speak coffee needs. Can you elaborate a bit more? Something, 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 then naturally there must be an accomplice lying in wait to catch it. An accomplice? The criminal wasn't about to cross Dusky Bridge, so who collected the body? What do you have to say about that, Trite? Mr. Goto is correct. This can't be the work of a single person. Well, Mr. Wright, you know what you must do now. Yes, Your Honor. The body couldn't have made it to Hazakura Temple without an accomplice. Very well then, if you please, Mr. Wright. Who was the person that received the body on the Hazakura Temple site? I'm sorry. I'm sorry, but... You! It can only be you, Sister Iris. You're my defendant, so I apologize, but still.
Huh? But
I don't see why you're so surprised. The only way to transport the body from Dusky Bridge is by snowmobile. But with her bad back, Sister Bikini could never pick up a body like that. You're the only one that could have managed it. Troy, were you even listening to the witness's testimony? On the night of the crime, the little cutie pie was on cleanup duty in the Inner Temple Garden after the mother-daughter bloodbath. I haven't forgotten, but have you, Mr. Godo? This witness was also seen at Hazakura Temple, desecrating the corpse of the victim. Strange indeed. It's almost as if, on that night, the defendant was in two different places at the same time. Sister Iris, let me ask you something. Why didn't you mention it when you first gave your testimony?
Mention what?
The pendulum, of course. Using a sketch drawn by an eyewitness, I have established how the body was moved using the burnout bridge, which means it's now a fact that this occurred, something you should have already known.
No! I had no idea! I didn't know anything about a pendulum!
But the body couldn't have been passed along to the other side without your help, so you should have known about it. In fact, it'd be impossible for you to unless you're not really Iris to begin with.
What? How can you say that, Mr. Wright?
What? What kind of nonsense is this? You're saying the witness isn't Iris of Hazakura Temple? Are you serious, Trite? You mean this woman is... There's no one besides Iris that could have received a corpse that night. Now I get it. Now I know why I've been sick to my stomach this whole trial. Why her whole demeanor changed so suddenly from yesterday, and why she's trying to pin the murder on Maya. The woman that's standing there at the witness stand, her real name is Dahlia Hawthorne! I never thought I'd have to utter your name again, let alone see you. It's been a long time. Dahlia Hawthorne. Hawthorne? Sister Iris had a twin sister. And you're looking at her, Miss Dahlia Hawthorne. The name rings some bells. Distant bells, but bells nonetheless. It's just your imagination, Gramps. This file contains all the relevant data about Dahlia Hawthorne. Oh yes, I remember now. That case, 5 years ago.
My name is Dahlia Hawthorne. I just want to say, it's an honor for me to be here in your noble presence.
The honor is all mine. No, the honor is all mine. But, according to this, Dahlia Hawthorne is already dead. It says her execution was carried out last month. Glug, 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 glug. So what? Death has no meaning in this courtroom. What? Order, order, order!
Wait a moment! How can you... My sister! She's already dead! What kind of...
You of all people should already understand. After all, the blood of the master of the Korean channeling technique flows within that body. The Korean channeling technique? Now where have I heard that? That's right, you're not Dahlia Hawthorne herself. You're the spirit of Dahlia currently inhabiting the body of a spirit medium. What an exciting story! Exciting but quite impossible. You're asking us to buy a Dahlia Hawthorne just happened to be channeled by someone on the very night of the murder to a temple where her twin sister Iris was. Well, if you're going to put things that way, then yes. We're supposed to believe a coincidence like that just happens? Naturally, it was no coincidence. The whole thing was part of a plan from the very beginning. It was all written right here in these instructions.
What's that?
These instructions are written by your mother, Morgan Fay. And part of the plan calls for Dahlia Hawthorne to be channeled. That night, there were 2 irises at Hazakura Temple. 2 of them? Even the time of the channeling was planned out. As soon as you hear the lights out bell, in other words, 10 p.m. However, Iris was seen before dinner time. That means that Iris was at the dinner was the real Iris. And the Iris who gave me this hood in the main hall was also the real Iris. Meaning that the Iris Sister Bikini saw at the inner temple was someone else dressed as her, namely one Dahlia Hawthorne. Do you even know what you're saying, Tripe? This whole channeling the spirit of Dahlia Hawthorne business. Yes, it's true that you found plans to talk about it. However, we have one thing perfectly clear. The witness currently standing in the witness stand is the real Iris. What? Calm down and remember what you know about the night of the crime. After meeting Sister Bikini, the Dahlia Hawthorne that had been channeled would have been stranded at the inner temple due to the lightning strike. It was later that the body was moved by pendulum. That's right. Naturally, that would mean that the Iris that received the body was the real Iris. Are you with me so far? Yes. After being notified of what happened, the police came to Hazakura Temple's main hall. There they found Iris in her room and arrested her. And ever since, she's been under police supervision at the detention center. Yes, I suppose. I can't deny any of that.
Thank goodness. Looks like he's finally convinced.
But something still seems off. Way off. I'm still not convinced that the Iris here is the same one from the other night. I suppose you're about to say something really ridiculous. Like, the real Iris and the spirit of Dahlia somehow switch places. Switch places? To be perfectly honest, there are still quite a few things I don't understand, but I do know that unless we confirm the witness's identity, we can't continue with this trial. Iris doesn't have the spiritual powers needed to channel Dahlia, which means they must have switched places somewhere. Well, Mr. Wright, since the time she was arrested at Hazakura Temple, has there been any chances for Iris to switch places with Dahlia Hawthorne? There was one. Your Honor, I think there might have been one chance. Oh? Explain yourself. Yesterday, for a few minutes, Iris's whereabouts were unknown. Unknown? What do you mean? What I mean is, there was a span of time in which Iris was able to move about freely, unsupervised. Well, who was it? Who would give a murder suspect time to move about freely like that? I'm sorry. I know you didn't mean to. It wasn't your fault. The person who gave Iris a chance to freely move about was... Miles Edgeworth. This is Mr. Edgeworth, isn't it? Your Honor, there was a fairly large earthquake yesterday, was there not? An earthquake?
Earthquake! Oh my goodness! The inner temple! It's got a tremor, Mike!
How could I have... She fled. She escaped. We went to the inner temple right away. And it's true, Iris was already there. However, they had already switched places by that point in time. When I arrived at the training hall, I was met by none other than Dahlia Hawthorne. That's quite enough already, Mr. Wright. Now see here. No judge in his right mind would consider the idea of spirit channeling and... Be quiet. It's been a long time, Mr. Judge. That voice. Guess I'll have to ask again. Upon meeting a beautiful lady, always ask for her name and profession. It's one of my rules. Dahlia Hawthorne, and my current profession, permanently retired. So you're not going to bother hiding your identity anymore, huh? Why should I? After all, I'm dead. There's really nothing you can do to punish me. What is going on here? Dahlia Hawthorne. I never thought we'd meet again, and I never thought we'd meet like this. But this time, I'll end it, for her and for myself. To be continued, my ass! I'm gonna keep going. I need to grab water first, but we're gonna keep going. Let me just quickly go to the save screen. I will save here, and I'll be back in 20 seconds. Time me. I don't recall that being 20 seconds, but I am back. Epic. Thank you, Norcom1. You're new to the channel. If you like what you see, like, subscribe, and if you see a bell, ring it. Unless the notifications are broken. Now then, let's continue where we left off, shall we? Well, witness? Yes? How can I help you, Mr. Judge? Well, it seems that if we're to learn the truth, we'll need to hear your testimony. I have no problem with that. But when you've seen what I have, sometimes the truth is better left unknown. In any case, let's hear your testimony. Tell us about the plan that was carried out that night. Time to end this, Dahlia. Oh, got an email. The whole plan began with my death. A stupid plan hatched by Morgan Fay to install her daughter as the next master. But for it to work, Maya Fay would first have to die. The idea was for me to kill Maya and then have the blame pinned on Iris. The plan went wrong, but it seemed to have succeeded anyway. So that means you really are... Wait a minute! Did you just say the plan was to kill Maya Fay? Yes. You have a problem with that? Don't give us that nonsense! There's no way that... Watch yourself, Trite. If you've got a problem, solve it during cross-examination. That's one of my rules. Mr. Goto is correct. And by the way, that's one of my rules as well. To kill Maya? Could it be true? Guess we're just gonna have to press her and find out. Alright, Dahlia, bring it on. You were executed last month, correct? Yes, I was hanged. It wasn't exactly pleasant. How did you manage to discuss this? When did you talk with Morgan Fay? Last year, she was transferred to the same detention center as me. Since I was on death row and she was my mother, it was actually pretty easy to meet with her. I see. So that's when you discussed a plan. Heh, are you crazy? At first, that woman was planning to kill me as well, even though I'm her own daughter. All to make Pearl Fay the master of Khura'in? She's a cold, twisted woman. She thought she could finally regain her lost honor. The honor she lost when her younger sister Misty took her place as the master. Ever since that day, she's been working on this plan. A plan, huh? Plan. You're talking about Pearl Fay, is that correct? Yes, though at first she had high hopes for the two of us. You and your twin sister, Iris? That's correct. Fortunately, neither of us had much spiritual power. That's why we were abandoned by her, along with our father. Abandoned? The only person I ever really cared for in my life was myself. My sister was a nuisance, so I convinced my father to leave her at an old temple. You mean Iris? Yes, my father remarried a woman who also had a daughter. The less children you have, the more money there is to go around, right? And on top of that, my father had absolutely no interest in children in general. How horrible. The really horrible one was that woman. That bitter, vengeful woman. It was her stubbornness that gave birth to that child, Pearl Fay. She was born with an abundance of spiritual power. Unfortunately for her, Morgan Fay heaped all the broken hopes and dreams onto that poor child's back. All because of her pathetic dreams of having her bloodline become the main family. For it to work, Maya would have to die. Stop right there. Maya would have to die? But why? For our bloodline to succeed as the main family, thus making Pearl the new master. The remaining descendants of the current master had to be taken care of. Why is the music stopped? But Pearls would never agree to a plan like that. She adores Maya. How sad. You still don't get it, do you? What Pearl wanted had nothing to do with it. Morgan didn't care one bit about Pearl. The only thing she cared about was the position of the master. That's all. That's ridiculous! She was willing to sacrifice anything and anyone to achieve her goal. The life of her daughter. And naturally, the life of Maya Fey as well. How could anyone do that? The idea was for me to have pin the blame on Iris. You were going to kill Maya? Pearl didn't need to know anything about it. All she had to do was follow the instructions in the letter and channel me. Then I would have simply used her body and finished the job. In any case, I'm already dead, and there's nothing any of you can do to me. Gah. So the plan was to blame the crime on your younger twin, on Sister Iris of Hazakura Temple. She and I look absolutely identical. No one can tell us apart. If someone were to witness me killing Maya, naturally they would think it was Iris that had done it. And the witness in this case was a head nun, Sister Bikini. I never would have guessed she was going to return to Hazakura Temple that night. But she wound up seeing Iris' crime anyway. And why do you want to pin the murder on Iris in the first place? She's your twin sister, isn't she? Twin sister? Don't make me laugh. She's nothing but a backstabber. I couldn't care less about her. Backstabber? You just don't understand. You never will. Anyway, the plan went wrong, but it seemed to have succeeded. You think the plan was a success? You heard me. Just as the woman had hoped, Maya Fey is dead. Now the title of the master will pass on to Pearl Fey. That's absurd! Maya is she's just trapped inside that secret cavern. Really? You're as foolishly optimistic as ever, aren't you, my darling Feeny? Do you want to know the truth? Ever since we met, I've despised you. Your sniveling naivety and your pathetic faith in other people. I just wanted to know one thing. Why did you personally think of Morgan Fey's plan? I told you already, didn't I? It was a stupid plan. It had no point, no value other than fulfilling your own greedy desires. Yes, it was certainly nothing to be proud of. If that's how you feel, why'd you help her carry it out? Why would you do it? Why would you kill Maya? You may not understand it, being the kind of gentle soul that you are. You may not be able to appreciate why someone like me would help a woman like that. So then tell me, why? Isn't it obvious? I'm not like that woman. I only act in my own self-interest. The reason I helped her was for myself. For my own personal satisfaction. What did you say? It's this woman, Dahlia Hawthorne. She had her own reason for wanting Maya dead. Do you understand why I would kill Maya Fey now? What my goal was? I'm gonna press that because I don't. Obviously, it's because you were helping Morgan Fey. Helping? Don't make me laugh. From the day I was born to the day I died, I never helped anyone. I lived for myself, and in the end, I died for myself. I thought that was obvious. So she wasn't actually cooperating with Morgan. She was just using Morgan and her plan so she can accomplish her own goal. All I wanted to do was kill Maya Fey. That was the only way I could think of to get revenge. Revenge? Looks like I have no choice but to present that piece of evidence. I can't believe it. She meant to kill Maya. I've got to keep a cool head. I need to get more information out of her. It's the only way to understand this plan. What she was after as well. Wait, I know what your plan was. I think. I'm bluffing here. Could it be That your actual goal had nothing to do with Maya Fey herself? As I said, none of you have the power to punish me anymore, because I'm already dead. Well, I had the same problem, you see. You can't punish the dead, and you can't take revenge against them either. You wanted to take revenge on someone? I was sentenced to die because of that woman, Maya Fey. I somehow knew this was it. I wanted to send her a message. It was at her hands I suffered my first humiliation. I wanted her to feel the same pain she made me feel. Sadly, when I realized revenge was impossible, I gave up. And the reason it was impossible was that perhaps Mia Fey had already died? Yes, and I realized there's only one way to take revenge against the dead. And how do you do that? Even when the body dies, the spirit, the ego, it lives on forever. I want to take away the person that Mia Fey loved most. I wanted to kill her with my own hands. That would be the one and only way I could have taken my revenge against Mia Fey. That was the reason I helped out with that woman's plans. Just for that? For that you would kill Maya? Your goal was no different than that of Morgan Fey. As they say, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. What a cruel plan. Cruel, cold, and heartless. Huh. Don't waste your time preaching to the dead. I've already told you, there's not a thing you can do to me. Gah! That night, at about 9:30 p.m., I materialized into this world. I quickly pinned my hair up and put on a demon-warding hood. Then I picked up the staff that was by my side and left Hazakura Temple. So it was at least Dunham who channeled her after all. That ridiculous head nun never noticed a thing. She left Maya Fey at the inner temple and wobbled back clutching her poor old back. What did you do then? That kid was easier to handle than I had hoped. I caught up with her in front of the stone lantern, and I took out a dagger I got from the storeroom and... No. So then you're saying you stabbed Maya? It's strange, but I don't have a clear memory of what happened after that. What does that mean? No clear memory? I don't know. I think I was stabbed. You were stabbed? At the last minute, Maya Fey must have stabbed me, I'm sure of it. That's not like her at all. Maya wouldn't stab a French fry with a plastic fork. Anyway, I suddenly lost consciousness. Before I did, I scrawled her name onto the lantern. Just as I was passing out, I wrote Maya behind my back. I had hoped it would cast suspicion on her. I can't believe she was thinking of that until the bitter end. That's where my memory temporarily stops. It stops? I don't have any memory of actually killing Maya Fey with my own two hands. My very last memory was Maya's terror-filled eyes. When I woke up after that, I was in the sacred cavern surrounded by darkness. You were in the sacred cavern? The entrance was sealed with one of those trick locks. Somehow I'd been trapped in there. How'd you wind up in there? I'd like to know that myself. Anyway, I was worried. I didn't know whether or not Maya Fey was dead. And I swore I wouldn't return to the underworld until I knew I had killed her myself. For a ghost, you're one tough cookie. I wanted to get out of there and make sure she was dead. But I couldn't do it. I couldn't get out. The trick lock stopped you, huh? I didn't know how to remove it. So then you're saying you were actually confined against your will in the sacred cavern? Yes, I wanted to get rid of that annoying lock as soon as possible. But it wasn't easy. I kept getting interrupted while I was working on it. Interrupted? It was early in the morning, but someone came into the training hall. What? Who? Could have been Maya? I thought the same thing, but I couldn't see. Why not? If someone had spotted me, I would have lost my chance to take revenge. So I made sure to hide myself well at the back of the sacred cavern. That morning, only two people could have gone into the training hall. Maya and Pearls. Pearls went there to cover the hanging scroll in gravy. I finally managed to remove the lock, but I was too late. What do you mean by that? The files had already started to gather. The flies, I mean. The bridge had been fixed and the police had started their investigation, correct? Oh. Naturally, I couldn't get out. So instead, I returned to the cavern and put the lock back on myself. I realized I wouldn't get a chance to see Maya's corpse as I had hoped. But just then, Lady Luck shows up. Lady Luck? After that big earthquake, she showed up all by herself. The real Iris? She said she'd come to make sure the sacred cavern was alright. Stupid girl. I came out from the secret cavern and got a feel for the situation. And I locked her away in my place. I had finally learned exactly what had happened. It was then that I learned that the plan had actually succeeded. What do you mean your plan had succeeded? I had misunderstood one thing, you see. That night, the one that had summoned me, I had assumed it was Pearl Fay. Well, of course you would have assumed that. It was written in the instructions. But I was wrong. What had actually called my spirit back was Misty Fay, the picture book author. What? Well, that's really the only possibility, isn't it? After I lost consciousness in the garden, it was her body that was left lying there. Maya Fay. I wasn't able to kill her with my own hands after all. And that is matricide, the sin of killing your own mother. No way! Order in the court! What is the meaning of this? It's true I was the one who attacked Maya Fay, but even so, the murderer who actually snuffed out Misty Fay's life was none other than your darling little Maya. Ridiculous! That's nonsense. Are you sure about that? Just think about it. There's even evidence supporting these facts, isn't there? What? What do you mean? What is this so-called evidence? The fact that Maya Fay disappeared is evidence enough, isn't it? Huh? The idea that she's still in the sacred cavern is just ridiculous. She wasn't able to escape from the inner temple, that much is obvious. In that case, there is only one place she could be. Where? Do I have to spell it out? The bottom of the Eagle River, where else? Eagle River? Maya Fay killed her long-lost mother. Can you imagine the guilt she must have felt when she realized that? That's why she threw herself into the Eagle River. Most bodies that wind up in there are lost forever. So, what do you have to say now, Feeny? Oh, sorry about that. Gotta check my phone. Hold on. Oops. Sorry, that's my phone. What kind of ringtone is that? That's his theme, but 8-bit. Go over here. Okay, thanks. Was it something important? They just finished removing the locks from the sacred cavern. That's great! What about Maya? There was a woman in the cave. Was it Maya Fay? It was the accused, Sister Iris. Huh? Don't look so surprised. I locked her up in there yesterday. I just finished telling you that. So, what about Maya? Where is she? There was no one else found inside the sacred cavern. No. It can't be. I told you, didn't I? She's dead. No. No! It seems that this case has come to an end. A tragic end. Sadly, it appears the killer of Elise Donum, also known as Misty Fay, was her own daughter, Maya Fay. Overcome with guilt for what she had done, Maya Fey jumped to her death in the raging waters of the Eagle River. It can't be. Trite, have you ever heard this one? Once you eliminate the impossible, whatever remains must be the truth, no matter how improbable it may seem. What is that supposed to mean, Prosecutor Goto? According to this witness, Maya Fey threw herself into the Eagle River. However, is that really the truth? Remember, this woman testified earlier that the bridge was already on fire when the murder was taking place in the garden, which means that Maya had thrown herself into the river. It must have been from the inner temple side, near the bridge.
That's right. That's where she jumped from.
But that's impossible. It's impossible to jump into a river from there. What? Don't you get your panties all twisted up, Trite. Just relax and think through the whole thing again. So it's impossible? Maya couldn't have thrown herself into Eagle River? Well, Mr. Wright, and Mr. Hawthorne claims Miss Fey threw herself into the river from the inner temple side. Do you have any evidence that refutes this claim? The only thing I have is this. What? Oh, that's right. That's a rocky cliff! It's impossible to jump into the Eagle River from the inner temple side. No one knows that better than this witness. What did you say? 11 years ago, you jumped into the very same river. Just take a look at this overhead map. As you can see, below the cliff on the inner temple side is a big rock shelf. Oh. Ooh! You're right! She wouldn't have reached the river if she had jumped from out there. In other words, if she had jumped, we should be able to see her body in this photo. So you're finally figuring it out. You... Order! Order! You're just playing with me! Maya Fey's body is at the bottom of Eagle River! There's nowhere else she could possibly be hiding. Miss Hawthorne, have you ever heard this one before? Once you eliminate the impossible... Hype? If you're talking about the finale of this case, then yes, hype. Otherwise, I don't know. But hype! Whatever remains must be the truth. Yes, just a few minutes ago. Maya Fey wasn't inside the sacred cavern. We now know she didn't throw herself into the Eagle River. Correct. That eliminates all the most likely possibilities. Now, although it seems improbable, there's still one other place she could be. What? What is this one other possibility you're talking about? That's obviously a bluff, so where's her dead body then? Finally, I think the pieces are starting to fall into place. Normally, the living have no way to punish the dead, but I think there's a way to give Dahlia Hawthorne the ultimate punishment. Danganronpa reference, because I can! Shall I tell you, Miss Hawthorne? May I tell you where Maya is this very instant? Maya Fey is in this very courtroom! There's only one possibility left. Namely, she's right here in this very courtroom. What? Maya Fey's here? You say she's here in my courtroom? Dahlia Hawthorne, I seem to recall that you said... I had misunderstood one thing, you see. So what? But I think there's one more thing you misunderstood. What do you mean? Tell me something. At this very moment, who is channeling Dahlia Hawthorne? Why that's obvious! It's Pearl Fey, that pathetic little sniveling runt. You're wrong. Pearl's tried, but she couldn't do it.
I've never failed at channeling someone. This is the first time it's happened.
Is there any explanation for why you couldn't channel a spirit?
It could happen if someone else was already channeling the same spirit.
Someone called me before Pearl did? But who? Pearl's even tried again on the day after the crime, but she couldn't do it. What could that mean? I think the truth is becoming clear to you right about now, am I correct? Ah! It wasn't Pearls that channeled you. There was someone else who called before you could. That, I'm sorry to say, was Maya Fey. This is an easy one. Pearls couldn't do it, and Misty Fey is gone. There's only one possibility left. Come on already. I can't stand attention! Dahlia Hawthorne, the person channeling you right now must be Maya Fey. What? But how could that be? Remember what this witness Dahlia Hawthorne said about her goal. She said that her goal was to kill Maya Fey. That's right. But if Maya channeled the spirit of someone that was trying to kill her... well, Gramps, what would happen? Could it be? It looks like you finally understand, Your Honor. Well, I don't! What are you going on about? What I'm going on about is the reason Maya channeled you. And there's only one reason. To protect herself from you. To protect herself? From me? Yes. On the night of the crime, you were only interested in one thing. Killing Maya Fey. The path back to Hazakura was closed off and there was nowhere for her to run. So then the problem became, where would the safest place be to hide? You mean that's when she channeled me? All this time you thought you'd been channeled by Pearls. That's when it never occurred to you. That Maya's hiding place was you. No! No! Don't say that! You're saying that I, Dahlia Hawthorne, was played for a fool by that little whelp? Maya Fey killed herself. Isn't it obvious? Sorry, but no. It would have been impossible for her to jump into the Eagle River. This was the only avenue of escape open to Maya. The only way that Maya could disappear from the Inner Temple. I don't believe you. A stupid little girl like that who has never been out in the real world, she could never have come up with a plan like that. Who could have ever given her such a brilliant idea? Well, me, of course. Mia! Mia Fey? It's been a long time, Dahlia Hawthorne. So it's true. It was you. You're something else. What? What are you doing here? That hair. It's Pearls, right? Tell me something, Dahlia. I want you to think back to that night one more time. You had just cornered Maya in the Inner Temple's garden, and then, in the final moments of the fight, you lost consciousness. I was stabbed by Maya Fey! Actually, Maya lost consciousness at the same time as you. She did? Not terribly surprising since she was about to be killed. When she woke up, she was in the training hall. That's when Maya decided she needed help, so she channeled me. She explained in the memo the situation she was in. She asked me what I thought she should do. She did that? I can't believe it! Of course, I didn't have all the details, but one thing was perfectly clear, and that was, I knew that you couldn't be allowed to wander free. Free? What do you mean? It was a race against time, so I wrote down 2 things that Maya had to do. Channel Dahlia Hawthorne as soon as possible, and lock herself in the sacred cavern until help arrived. So it was Maya who put the lock on there. Yes. But why did you order her to do those 2 things? If she hadn't done it, Dahlia Hawthorne would have been channeled by someone else. By one Pearl Fey. Pearls? Yes, Pearl didn't properly understand the plan, so all she was trying to do was follow her mother, Morgan Fey's instructions. If she had succeeded in channeling Dahlia Hawthorne's spirit, things would have turned out very badly, to put it mildly. So that's how it was. Dahlia Hawthorne would have been used the body of Pearl Fey. To kill Maya at all costs. Yes, it certainly sounds it was the intent all along. How dare you! I won't forget this! Why not just admit it, Dahlia Hawthorne? Your little plan was nothing but a big failure. Yes, another failure to add to the pile of shame, when you say. What do you mean by another? Think about it, Dahlia. Remember all your past crimes? Not a single one of them was a success. They all ended in failure. What? How dare you? 11 years ago. The fake kidnapping. Your very first crime. You got your hands on a $2 million diamond, but... After Terry Falls escaped and went to meet with Valerie Hawthorne, the truth was exposed. Shut your mouth! That wasn't my fault! It was because of that stupid elf of a prisoner and that weakling of a policewoman! And then, 1 year later, you try to kill me. Well, I'm still alive, but... You wound up killing someone else. As a result, you were sentenced to death. You're already dead.
Hey, Michael.
Hold on. Yeah.
Hey, I'm gonna need your help for about 15 minutes, okay?
Alright. Sorry, but I am gonna have to leave this right quick.